Hey guys, it's ExandShadow, and finally we are going to start the actual game. How about that shit? So anyway, this is Mayahem Temple, the first level in the game. Well, the first real level in the game. Anyway, if you jump into this pool of water here, you'll find your first Jinjo. It'll always be there, but the color will be randomized every single time you play the game. So even though I found the first of the green family of Jinjos there, it might be blue, it might be white, it might be orange, it might be whatever color. So remember, the Jinjo locations are always the same, but the colors are different every time you play. Now, the stuff that I'm collecting are notes, which have been dramatically improved over the first game. In the first Banjo-Kazooie game, there were 100 notes scattered around every level, and it's the same in this game. There are still 100 notes, and you still need to collect them all, because collecting them is good. However, even though there's 100 notes, you don't collect them one at a time like in Kazooie 1. That's actually, I think, a really good thing, considering how much bigger these levels are than the first game's levels. Notes come in packs of 5, and there's also one 20-note treble clef in every single level. And if you get all 100 notes, well, good for you. You're not... Well, I guess you are required to get notes, but getting notes isn't a prerequisite to open doors in this game. If you played the first Banjo-Kazooie game, you'll know that in that game you collected notes because that would unlock more sections of the hub world. In this game, it's a little bit different. Collecting notes allows you to unlock moves, and I think that's just a better use of them in overall, because in the first game they just gave you the moves, and really in the first game you stopped getting moves like halfway through. So I always thought that in the first game, if they were going to do it the way that they did, they should have just had it so that you had all of your moves at the start. But in this case, you learn your moves as you go and you use your notes to buy them, basically. Well, not to buy them, but once you've reached a certain threshold of notes, you can unlock a new move. You'll never really have a problem with unlocking moves as long as you collect all the notes in the level as you go, and you should be able to get most of them on your first run through. They're all pretty much in the open. If you're paying at least a little bit of attention, notes shouldn't be too hard to find. They're one of the easiest things in the level, and you can usually get like a good 50 of them within the first 5 minutes of wandering the stage, so... Yeah, notes aren't too big of a deal in this game. I like them the way they are, and they're much better in Kazooie 1. For one reason. Once you get a note, you keep that note. In Banjo-Kazooie 1, you got like a note score or something like that. Basically, it's like if you got 30 notes in that level and then you died, well, that's your highest note score. And if you wanted to do better than that, you'd have to collect those 30 notes again and then collect more. And I hated that in Kazooie. Hated it, hated it, hated it. In this game, if you get a note, you keep the note, and that's how it should have been from the beginning. Yeah, sorry, I just hate that about the first game. It's probably the first game's biggest flaw, and that's why I'm glad that they fixed it. It's just like, this is just simple, and it's good, and everybody likes it. So yeah, this is how you do notes. So yeah, we got our first move from Jam Jars there. He's basically the bottles of this game. Once you find his silo, he'll teach you a move, and as long as you have enough notes for it, of course. That's just how learning moves works in this game. So the first move that you learn is the egg aim, and basically it makes first-person view mode useful. When you press up on the C stick, you'll get a little reticule now, and then you can use it to aim and shoot eggs at things. And that's good, so you're gonna want to do that to fight. You do that to fight enemies, to do certain puzzles. It's just a useful move all around. Probably one of the most used power-ups in the game. So you don't want to miss that one. Actually, it's not possible for you to beat the game while missing that one, because not only do so many Jickeys require it, but you need it in order to access the third world. So yeah, you're gonna need to pick that one up. Thankfully, it's like the easiest one to find in the history of the world, so whatever. You're not gonna skip out on that one, I don't think. So, this is Mumbo. You remember Mumbo from the first cutscene. If you're one of those people who played the first game, you'll also remember that he changed you into different animals in each stages. Well, his purpose is a little bit different in this game. Instead of being a guy who transforms transforms you into different animals, he's actually an alternate playable character. Now, control-wise, he's pretty much the same, like, movement and such. He controls just as smoothly. But, however, he can't do all of the fancy jumps, and his only attack is, like, zapping his stick at things, which is honestly kind of lame. However, you're not going to be using Mumbo for a whole lot of exploration. Basically, you're going to use him to find these Mumbo pads to do certain magic things in each level. So yeah, instead of turning you into something with his magic, he's a little bit more useful in that he actually does things for you, and I really like that. Well, I guess I really like that because I'm used to the idea of Mumbo walking around and doing things, because again, I played this one first, and I'm used to a different character transforming us. But again, since he's more connected to the events in this one, because, you know, Bottles was his friend too, it's nice that he's taking a more active role instead of sitting around in his skull the entire time. So this is the first Mumbo pad in the first Mumbo magic section. All you have to do is press the B button on these pads, and then he'll start doing his magic shit. And the magic spell differs from level to level. In this level, it's the summon spell, and it allows us to summon this giant golden statue of fuckery, and then we get to do all sorts of stuff with it. There's no limit on the magic for this spell, so if you fuck up this, you can just try it over and over again until you get it right. However, in other levels, it's just sort of a one-and-done thing where it happens, and then the magic is set, and you don't need to worry about it anymore. It's sort of a case-by-case basis with this sort of thing. So, Mumbo's magic it's cool. I really do like it, because it's another element of exploration, and there's some really cool puzzles with it. One thing that might be annoying to some people is the necessity to explore each level as Mumbo and Banjo and Kazooie, but I find that it's a lot less tedious if you find all of the Mumbo pads first and then go use Mumbo to activate them all at once. It's usually just the better way to do that, so that you're not just trying to explore the level with Mumbo and his shitty jump and such. Anyway, I should be explaining what the golden dude here does as well. Basically, he can walk and he can kick things. There are 4 things in this area that you want him to kick. First off, there's a little cracked door up further from the hill from where you summon him. You're gonna want to break that open with his foot. Second off is that boulder from at the front of the level. You're gonna want him to break that. You get a move later on that'll allow you to break that as Banjo and Kazooie. But that takes a while, and it takes backtracking, and I just want to get it done now, because I can't get it done now. The third thing is the door that goes into this room, and the last thing, which is very important, is the door there. You should have enough time to do this. Like right here, I had 5 seconds to spare. So, you know, you do have to be quick if you want to do it without taking 2 turns. But if you know what you're doing, you should be able to do it all at once, and then you don't have to use Mumbo for the rest of the level. Yeah, that's all he has to do. So, yeah, once you're done with him, you can just backtrack back to the skull and then put him back. Again, I'm going to once I get later in the game when the backtracking takes more time, I'm going to start cutting it out. But here, look, it takes like 1 minute to get him back to his skull. And when you're playing an adventure game like this is part of what you sign up for, right? You should be expecting things like this. So, that's why I don't find it too big of a deal, the backtracking, especially in the early levels, because they're small enough to the point where it doesn't really matter if you have to walk a minute to get back to Mumbo's skull to drop him off and pick up Kazooie. You know, it's just like, who gives a shit, really? But yeah, once you go back to Mumbo's skull, all you have to do is drop him in his chair, and then you can swap back to Banjo. Once you unlock Mumbo's services for each level by giving him a Globo, which I'll explain later, because you get 2 Globos per level, and I'll explain their uses when it becomes relevant again. Once you give Mumbo a Globo, you can use him as many times as you want, so don't worry about, like, having to find a new one every time you want to use him again. But there, that's another reason why I love this, why this game's backtracking is never an issue. Those warp pads, they function pretty similarly to the silos in the overworld, only they're in the levels themselves. And the best part is that there's one at every single major landmark in the entire, in pretty much the entire game, really. There's one at the beginning of each level, one at the Mumbo skull in each level, one at the character swapping station in each level. I'm not sorry, the character swapping station. I mean, the magic person who changes Banjo-Kazooie into a random object whose name I'm not going to spoil just yet because we haven't met her. And if there's just like random prominent areas in the level, there will be one there too. So basically this game is making it very easy for you to backtrack, because, you know, if you ever need to go somewhere, chances are there is a warp pad there and you can just warp there at any point. And basically, once you get all the warp pads, it won't take you more than 5 minutes of walking total to get from one place in the game world to another. And I'm talking about like the entire game world once you've unlocked everything. You can get from one place to another within 5 minutes. No problem whatsoever. That's why I don't think that the backtracking in this game is all that bad, because, well, one, it's a backtracky game, you know, that's just what you're getting in for. And I feel like complaining about backtracking in a game like this is sort of like complaining about action in a Call of Duty game. It's like, if you didn't want to shoot things, why the fuck are you playing this? But just another thing is that the game is streamlined so perfectly that it never really bothers me how much backtracking there is, because the game pretty much cuts all of it out for you. There's so many fucking warp points that it doesn't really matter how much backtracking there is if it takes all of half a second every time I play the game. It's just wonderful. I love how streamlined this game is. It makes the exploration quick and fast, and whenever you do need to backtrack, it doesn't ever feel like a drag, because you have to walk across all sorts of different hell or annoying platforming bits just to get to that one thing that you might have forgot earlier on. Anyway, this move right here, the move that we just learned, is called the grip grab. Basically, it allows us to grab onto ledges. Why this wasn't part of his natural moveset, I don't know. But thankfully, the game is smart enough to give us this ability, which should have been there in the beginning, to us at pretty much the beginning of this game. Because, I mean, like, yeah, they sort of fucked up with not having a grab the ledge move in Banjo-Kazooie 1, but they give it to us so early in this game that it's like, okay, fine, you're forgiven. I don't have to put up with that shit that shit in this game, so you know what? I'm going to forgive you. It's weird, because this is something that should be on every single platformer's skill set, you know, grabbing onto ledges. That's just basic, that's like an important thing, especially for stuff like this. I can't tell you how many times I fuck up in Kazooie 1, because I think that I can grab a ledge that I wasn't able to grab, you know? It's just like, really, why isn't that in the game? But yeah, so now that we have it, not only can we grab on the ledges of platforms, so it'll just allow us to platform easier and climb up on stuff, we can also grab on little ledges to climb across walls. Those guys hiding in the walls, those little plants, fuck those guys. I mean, seriously, they're probably the most annoying enemy in the entire goddamn game. I mean, seriously. Dude, are you sure you really want to eat that? I mean, you swallowed it whole. Won't that get stuck in your esophagus? Wouldn't that hurt? I mean, if you're trying to protect that thing, wouldn't exposing it to your digestive juices be a bad idea? I mean, seriously, dude. That seems like a terrible idea. Okay, well, anyway, this asshole's name is Ssslumber, and he's a narcoleptic, so he needs to sleep all the time. Basically, but however, he sleeps lighter than someone who sleeps really lightly. I didn't know what analogy I was going for there. So, you need to tiptoe across this bramble patch in order to get the Jiggy. You can tiptoe just by tilting the control stick very, very softly. And once you get the Jiggy, he'll stay asleep forever because his sleeping medication just kicked in or something. And so you don't have to worry about any noise you make, even though you probably will never have to go up there ever again. So, yeah, moving softly is a thing that you only have to do in a very few specific amount of situations in Banjo-Tooie. And I find it kind of annoying, not because of the game itself, but because of the N64 controller. For whatever reason, the N64 controller, as they age, they become less precise. So so the control stick becomes very, very loose when you're not pushing it tightly. So I've found that as time goes on, it's become harder and harder to do that section. Thankfully, as long as you take your time, it's not ever that bad, so you won't ever really have to worry about it too much. But still, it's annoying, though I'm not going to blame the game for it. I'm going to blame Nintendo because their products haven't aged very well. Have I ever mentioned that the N64 controller's control stick is uncomfortable as fuck? Because it's uncomfortable as fuck. Okay, yeah, sorry, got sidetracked there. Anyway, this is an area where you need the A-game power-up, so make sure to get that before trying out this section. And all you have to do is blast all the flies, and then you get a Jiggy. It's very simple. Again, Mayahem Temple is the first level in the game, so purposefully they left things pretty straightforward, just so that you can get used to how the game works, pretty much. There are 10 Jiggies in every single level, but in this level you can only get 9 of them on your first run through. You're going to have to get another power-up in a later level in order to get the 10th. So be prepared to make another stop back here. But thankfully, the power-up we need is in the second level, so you can clean out this level within 2 visits. So that's a good thing. Anyway, you use the grip grab up here in order to get a empty honeycomb piece. Empty honeycomb pieces function pretty similarly to how they do in Banjo-Kazooie 1, in that if you get enough of them, your health bar will increase. However, your health bar doesn't increase automatically like it does in Banjo-Kazooie 1. Instead, you have to give it to a character who we haven't met yet in order to get your health bar increased. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, if you played Banjo-Kazooie 1, this puzzle solution will be very obvious. Just egg-aim these eggs into the snake's mouth, and then you'll be able to enter this temple. And next time on Let's Play Banjo-Tooie, we'll find out what stuff is hidden inside the temple, and we'll be doing a few more Jiggies in Mayahem Temple. I just said the word temple way too many times in that goddamn sentence. Anyway, well, that's about it. I'm ExandShadow, and I'll see you guys later.